Welcome back to another episode of the Draw Control podcast. On today's episode, I am joined by a recent graduate of the Sacred Heart women's lacrosse team, Claire McElhenny. In her career, Claire was named to the first team All-NEC team and selected to the All-NEC tournament team this past season. Claire has earned the second team All-NEC honors twice in her career, and in her senior year, she led the team in ground balls and draw controls. Claire, thank you so much for coming on the podcast today. And how's everything going?
Yeah, of course. Thank you for having me. It's going good. I'm really excited to be here and talk to you about lacrosse.
Well, I'm excited to have you on as well. And obviously, yesterday was the final day of summer officially. So, how was your summer, and did you do anything interesting outside of lacrosse after your season was done and after you graduated as well?
Yeah, it was definitely a hard adjustment for me at first, knowing I wasn't going back to school, but I've kind of finally settled in and accepted it. But I was able to go to St. Bart's for my cousin's wedding, which was really awesome. So that was probably my highlight of my summer.
Nice. Is that in the Caribbean somewhere?
I think it's around near the all the islands like St. Michael, all the BVIs, I think it's called,
Mm-hmm.
but
Mm-hmm.
I could be completely wrong.
Yeah, I honestly have never heard of it before, so I was just sort of curious about that. But I'm assuming it was pretty nice out there.
Yeah, it's a beautiful island. Definitely the prettiest place I've ever been.
Now, obviously, since you have graduated, do you still plan on being involved with lacrosse in the future, or are you officially retired at this point?
Yeah, so I would say I'm definitely retired right now, but who knows what would happen in the future. But I am coaching for the club team that I used to play for. So that's kind of my way of staying involved. And I love coaching, and it's been really great experience so far.
Yeah, it must be cool to see the game from a different perspective after playing for so long.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
Well, I honestly want to start off this podcast talking about sort of the beginning of your lacrosse career and sort of working all the way up to where you are today. So, from the research I did on yourself, Claire, it says that you're from Davidsonville, Maryland. So,
Yeah.
talk about growing up there and how did you start playing lacrosse?
Yeah, so being from Maryland, it's a huge lacrosse state. Everyone plays it. So I started playing when I was in kindergarten, but then my family had moved to Buffalo for a good amount of my childhood, and they unfortunately didn't have women's lacrosse from where I lived there. So I really didn't start playing until around seventh grade when I moved back to Davidsonville. And that's when I started playing for my club team Integrity. And yeah, that's when my career started taking off.
And growing up, did you watch a lot of lacrosse? And if so, like who were some of your favorite players and teams that you liked the most?
Yeah, definitely a huge Maryland lacrosse fan. They were just always so good. Was a huge fan of Taylor Cummings and Brooke Griffin, especially because Brooke went to the high school I went to. So she was always someone I could look up to and just was an incredible athlete.
Have you had the chance to meet Brooke? I would imagine being from the same town.
No, I know it's kind of crazy. I've never met her, unfortunately.
Well, hopefully you get the chance to do that at some point
Yes,
soon. Maybe just run into each other at least once. I feel like that has to happen for you since you
right?
admire her so much.
Yeah, that would be awesome.
Well, like you mentioned before college, you played for your high school lacrosse team at South River, where your team won a state championship during your senior year. So talk about your experience in high school lacrosse and what you took away from it, and sort of when you look back at it now, what does it sort of mean to you?
Yeah, I came from a great lacrosse program. I would say that I took away the ability to face tough competition every single day, and I think that really helped me going into college because I did get the opportunity to play with a great group of girls who were also furthering their career in college. So I was able to face tough competition, which really did help a lot.
What's your favorite memory you have from your high school lacrosse days? I would imagine it's probably that state championship win. That's a good way to
Yeah.
end off your career in high school.
Yes, it was my first. I have two. My first was beating Severna Park in the semifinals because they were our biggest rival and we had lost them my junior year. So beating them senior year and then winning a state championship was absolutely unreal. It was a great game. We had been losing And then our sophomore goalie had gone in, and that's kind of when everyone turned it on. It was like, okay, this is our last game ever. We are not losing this game. So that was just an incredible way to go out.
Yeah. Do you still have like a ring or championships shirt from it? I'm curious about that.
Yeah, we have it's somewhere in my room, but we have like little dainty rings with our they have blue stones on them because our colors were light blue. And they say, South River State Championship 2018.
Nice, nice. Well, good
Yeah.
thing that you have two of those. We'll obviously talk about the other one a little more in
Yes.
depth, but I'm assuming you got a ring for the NEC one, or I'm not sure about that.
Yeah, so I actually get to go up October 28th is our ring ceremony.
Oh,
Um,
nice.
get our rings, and those ones are going to be like the big ones that
Oh,
you
yeah.
see football players get.
Nice, nice. You should
Yeah.
bring your state championship one too to be like Tom Brady with the two
Oh,
hands with
right.
the two rings. I think that would be pretty funny. So
Yeah, that would.
now, how do you think your high school lacrosse sort of experience helped prepare you for college? And how did it sort of make that transition easier? Because I know you were mentioning that you played with other, commits. So that must have made
Mhm.
that transition easier a little bit because,
Oh yeah.
you're going up against players that are in sort of the same caliber as the players you're going to be going up against in college as well.
Yeah, definitely. I would say that was definitely what helped the most, along with having coaches who were didn't take it light on us, which is I'm glad they didn't. They were tough on us. We did a lot of conditioning, we did a lot of hard had a lot of hard practices, and definitely just my teammates and also the competition we faced through other teams within my county. Coming being from Maryland, there's just so many great athletes all around here.
And you also played track and soccer in high school as well. So what was it like playing those sports, and how do you think it helped you in lacrosse?
I would just say I'm so glad I played those sports in high school because it helped me stay in shape and prepare for lacrosse. And also just having always playing a sport kept me kind of in line, and with the schedule, time management, and I was able to grow my competitiveness and hungriness for sports through those other ones that I played.
Yeah, and also gets rid of burnout too, because I feel like a lot of players now don't play multiple sports, and then you ultimately get burned out with the sport you want to play. I just feel like
Right.
you see that too much now, which is disappointing.
Yeah, I totally agree with that.
Are you a big soccer fan outside of playing it, or are you more just a player?
It's actually funny because all my high school friends are soccer players. And we recently, being home graduated, we started playing for a rec soccer team, which is just like a really fun thing we do every Monday night. And it's fun to do something outside of lacrosse as well, but that's still sports.
What position do you play?
I've been playing defense,
Nice. I feel
which
like
is
that makes
funny.
sense. Yeah.
Yeah, it makes sense because but in high school I played midfield, but now I'm like, okay, I definitely should just play defense, and I can tell I'm much better at it.
Yeah, for sure. Are you a fan of any teams in soccer, or just sort of like to play and not really watch outside of that?
Yeah, I think the only thing I really watch is the US women's team.
Yeah, that was tough this past summer as well, watching that.
Oh yeah, that
But
was.
they'll get back there though in 4 years when the World Cup. I don't know where it's going to be in
Exactly.
4 years, but they'll get back for sure. So, we'll now talk about your recruiting process to Sacred Heart. What made you want to go there versus other schools you might have looked at that time?
Yeah, so this is a funny story. During my recruiting process, Sacred Heart had reached out to me, and I never had heard of Sacred Heart. Didn't know what it was. I was like, I'm not gonna go look at it. My mom was like, no, we should. We're gonna go look at these schools. You don't even know what you like. So I was like, fine. Like any 17-year-old was. I was like, okay, fine. And then we went up there for a visit, and I'll never forget. My parents picked me up the next morning, and I was like, I'm going to this school. Like, I absolutely love it. The atmosphere, the coaches were unbelievable, and I loved the other recruits who I was visiting with, and I was just like, "Yep, this is my home."
And as a freshman, what was like the biggest adjustment you had to make to college lacrosse?
I would definitely say the speed of the game was a huge, huge difference for me, and I was like, "Whoa, okay, these girls are much faster and stronger than me, and I got to get there."
Now, talk about what it's like playing in the NEC and just the competition that you face each game.
Yeah, so the NEC, we have a lot of old teams who have been in the NEC for a while and have long-lasting winning reputations. And then we also have some newer teams who have just entered the NEC and are kind of growing. But teams like Wagner and LIU have always been our toughest competition. And those are the games that would always come down to it being a dogfight.
Now, during your sophomore year, the season was cut short due to the pandemic. How did you handle that challenge of having your season getting cut short, but also having to prepare and stay in shape with so many restrictions and uncertainty at that time?
Yeah, COVID was crazy. Every athlete can relate to this. It was definitely just the most upsetting thing any athlete wants to hear, that your season's being canceled. Um, I'll never forget when our coaches had brought us into the film room. Our team just thought, "Oh, another day of film," and they were like, "Yeah, the season's canceled," and all of us just were in hysterics, especially the seniors, obviously. But I just knew I had to continue stay in shape because I wanted to come back that fall and have a great season. It definitely wasn't the same because we weren't able to really have it be the same until my junior year. Playing in pods was definitely tough, but we made it through. And now looking back, I can say that COVID was a blessing in disguise because I was able to play my fifth year, which was my favorite year yet.
Yeah, I also feel like, at least in my opinion, I would much rather have dealt with that as an underclassman, knowing that I had some
Oh,
time
yeah.
left to sort of deal with it and deal with the ramifications than either A, being a senior and having your career get canceled out of nowhere, or being a
Mhm.
junior and sort of having have to deal your last year sort of being a weird COVID year, because that was still
Yeah.
somewhat going on during that time as well.
Yeah, definitely. I know. I'm really thankful it happened when it did happen to me.
Now, during your collegiate career, you've kept improving and getting better, and obviously were recognized with a lot of different awards. And it was fun to see just how good of a player you've become
Thank
since
you.
your freshman year. But what would you say is the biggest improvement you've made to your game throughout your time with Sacred Heart?
I would definitely say, well, I continue to grow and as a player, obviously in my IQ and get faster and stronger, but definitely my ability on the draw circle really was probably my biggest change and aspect of how I grew as a player. It was my favorite part. It was just so much fun. Yeah, I would say just keep continuing to improve my game on the draw circle.
Well, obviously this is the Draw Control podcast, and you've officially
Yeah.
graduated. So I feel like I can ask this now. What were some of your draw control strategies that you did when you were in the circle that sort of led to the improvement that you had?
Yeah, so definitely knowing where my draw player wanted to place the ball, the communication between us, we find like my fifth year and my past years, each different girl I had to communicate with and understand where they want to put the ball. But definitely my first step of where I thought the ball was going, and also a lot of times the ball would be pushed to behind me. So I would box out from behind, keeping the player behind me so that I could run onto the ball. That was probably my biggest strategy.
And another thing I want to ask you just about your game was how did you become more versatile? Because one thing that I sort of admire about your game is how good you are defensively, but also offensively, sort of creating those chances for your attackers. And then how you sort of worked on your defensive part of your game, because that's obviously, I think a lot of people would agree, you're the biggest strength that you have as a player is how you sort of create those turnovers, get those
Mhm.
ground balls, and move the ball upfield and
Oh
create
yeah.
possession as well for your team.
Yeah, definitely. I would say my strongest defensive ability was to be super aggressive. I also had to learn how to be composed while being super aggressive. But just that, what's the word I'm looking for? Uh, just trying to know this what my attackers are going to do, and bait them, but also being aggressive and trying to go for cause turnovers and then being able to pick up the ball and move it quickly down the field for our attackers was something I wanted to get better at, and I was able to do throughout my career. And sorry, I was just say for defense, because you had asked about defense, definitely just footwork is a huge, huge thing on defense, and your breakdown, and positioning, and knowing your defensive philosophies.
Yeah, I just want to ask if you had any sort of like good stories about you being maybe a little too aggressive and getting a red or yellow card that you didn't expect.
Yes, one this past year we had played UNH, and they had been transitioning the ball down to our defensive end, and this one player was coming in full speed, and I went to stop her, and we actually both had knocked over, and I was like, oh, that's awesome, I'm gonna get a charge. But they had called it on me for like blocking, like
Yeah.
my head. Yeah, and so I got a yellow card. My coach was like, yeah, Claire, you can't do that. And I was like, oh, okay, that's good to know.
Yeah, I understand that. Sometimes you sort of forget about that stuff, but the photos that come out sometimes look pretty cool when it looks like you're like the body checking someone on the field trying to get the ball.
Oh yeah, I know some of them. I'm like, oh my gosh, my face in those. But yeah, getting the ball back is the best feeling any defender can feel.
So now the big thing with your team, at least this past season, was how much you guys improved from your senior year to your fifth year. Really, for you, your freshman year to your fifth
Oh
year as
yeah.
well, because you had 2 wins your freshman year. But going from your senior year, you had 6 wins, and then this past year you had 11 wins. So my question is, what were some of the keys to your team's success this past season to sort of lead to the improvements that your team had, but also to your key to sort of the success to lead to a championship as well?
Yeah, so I got to give a lot of credit to the other fifth years who I played with, Grace Reynolds and Lydia Werlau. Us two were the only fifth years who came back this year, and we said, guys, listen, we're not leaving without a ring. Like, this is a very good team. And from my senior year team, we were a very good team, but we just couldn't, finish what we started. And this year we grew a lot and being able to face super hard teams, but actually go out on top, because before our senior year, it would be games where we had lost 12 to 11, but we just couldn't, take the extra step to win. And this year, I think everyone being on board and on the same page with, yeah, this is a really good team. We need to work together and be hungry every single day to want to win, and that's what we did.
And as you mentioned, you guys won the NEC Championship this past season.
Mhm.
Talk about sort of what it meant for you and the program to win that championship, and what was your takeaway from your team's playoff run, looking back on it now, beating St. Francis and then obviously Wagner in the championship game.
Yeah, that winning the NEC title was a huge, huge accomplishment and goal of ours from even just last year. It was incredible to win a championship, especially for our coaches, because the last championship we had won was in 2010. So it was just such an incredible feeling, and knowing that our team gave 110% every day. And really, I would say it came down to the love we had for one another, and truly we're a family the entire year. I think that's really what set us aside from past years, that we were really a family and had each other's backs and wanted to win for one another.
Now, you played your final collegiate game against North Carolina in the NCAA tournament. Even though you lost that game, what did you take away from your first tournament experience and just your overall Sacred Heart lacrosse experience? I'm assuming you've had time to sort of reflect on all those things, and I'm just curious what your sort of mindset on it is now.
Yeah, that was an incredible way to go out and end my collegiate career on UNC's turf. It was really awesome to know that even though we lost, we were able to hold our own, especially the first half. And I think that was really cool for the younger girls to see. Like, this is the expectation for Sacred Heart. Like, we can win and we can compete with um, these type of players. And going forward, that should be their goal, to get back there every single year.
And it must feel nice to sort of leave the place better than you found it, which is probably the goal for every player for every team they go to.
Yes, exactly. It's definitely um, one of the best things that I would say to take away from my career.
Now, you finished your high school career with the championship, and then you finished your college career with the championship. I'm curious if you ever sort of think about that, how cool that is.
Yeah, that because like my dad always says, like, Claire, not many athletes get to experience that. And I just think I'm extremely lucky, and I was blessed to have played with such an amazing group of girls, both my high school and college careers. And yeah, it was also just a huge goal of mine to leave Sacred Heart with a ring, and incredible feeling to be able to do that.
Are you planning on going back this upcoming season to watch a game?
Oh yeah, definitely. I'll be there cheering the girls on, hoping they can get back to win an NEC championship.
So we're now in a segment I like to call five questions that have nothing to do with sports. And the goal of this segment, Claire, is to hopefully get to know you a little bit more off the field. So my
Yeah,
first one is, what music do you like to listen to?
I am a country music fan. That is my favorite kind of music.
Any go-to artist specifically?
Yeah, I'm kind of basic, you know. I love Morgan Wallen,
Hmm.
love Zach Bryan, Riley Green. Those are kind of my top three.
Yeah, I wanted to see Morgan Wallen in concert this past summer. Didn't get the chance to do it, but it looked like a lot of fun from some of my friends that went to that.
Yeah, you should definitely, especially well, now he has a shaved head, but so you don't get the mullet experience.
Have you seen him in concert before, I imagine?
Oh yes, I saw him last summer,
Okay.
um, when he did have the mullet, and he was incredible.
Yeah, I feel like it's you gotta come back because obviously you released that new album since then, so I feel like you want to hear some of that stuff.
Yeah, definitely.
Now, another non-lacrosse question is, if there was a movie made about your life, who would you want to play yourself and why?
Yeah, that's hard. That's a hard question. Um, I gotta go with Blake Lively. I
Mhm.
think she would just do a great job of showing my life, and
Yeah,
she's a blonde like me.
I always say Ryan Reynolds, even though we look nothing alike. I just think it'll be funny to
Yeah,
brag to my friends saying that he played me in a movie, and that sort of relates to
exactly,
your answer as well. So maybe that he could be in
exactly.
your movie as well, which I think would make sense when they do the podcast scene.
Yeah,
So.
that'd be awesome.
Now, Claire, you might have had the best off the field style in the entire NEC, but besides yourself, who would you say had the best style on your team?
Yeah, this is a good one too. I would say my entire team is a bunch of girly girls. So everyone, I gotta go with Emma Kittredge, Lydia Warlow, and Grace Reynolds. And we can
Nice.
throw Gwen Tropia in there.
Okay, okay. I
Yeah.
would say, did you guys like ever like exchange stuff? Because I feel like girls do that all the time
Oh
with
my
their
gosh.
clothes.
Yeah, like everyone would be like, "Oh my God, that's so cute. Can I wear that next weekend?" I'd
Yeah.
be like, "Yeah, sure."
Who do you think got the most stuff stealing, I guess, borrowed from their closet?
In my house, me. I would go and be like, "Where are all my clothes? Like, I don't even know where half my clothes are."
Yeah, no, that's the one thing I wouldn't want. Would hate to deal with because don't wouldn't. I feel like it would be weird for someone else to wear one of my like jerseys and stuff. So I feel like that's definitely not a guy thing for sure.
Yeah, definitely a girl thing.
Now, what is the most interesting thing you've read or seen this week?
Hmm. Oh, probably the book I'm reading right now. It's called One True Love by um, Taylor Jenkins. It's a really good book, and I'm enjoying it. So I recommend it to anyone out there.
Nice. What's it about?
So this girl fell in love and got married, and well, I'll just tell you the opening chapter. It's this girl out to dinner with her parents and her fiance, and then she gets a call from her husband, but he had died in a plane crash, but
Hmm.
supposedly now he's alive.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
That's definitely
So I
a
got,
that's definitely a crazy love triangle for sure.
right. Yeah, so I got to read and see how it plays out.
All right, all right. I would say for me, I saw this like Tom Brady motivational like seminar, and it was
Hmm.
pretty interesting to hear like sort of all the adversity he had to go through to become successful. Because when he went to Michigan, there was like seven quarterbacks ahead of him in the depth chart, And then
Hmm.
when he finally sort of made it on the team and or to become a starter, he was like platooning with this other guy, and it's pretty crazy to think about the coach like not believing in Tom Brady, especially
Yeah.
now since he's like probably the best football player of all time. But just to sort of see his mindset on that such a tough situation and him trying to make the most of it, and obviously eventually worked out because he did become the starter that season and won the I think it was the Orange Bowl against Alabama, and obviously led him to be drafted and to where he is today. So I thought that was pretty motivational to hear all about that.
Yeah, that's really cool. That's actually something I'd be interested in listening to.
Yeah, it's on YouTube somewhere. So I think if you just type in Tom Brady seminar motivation, it recently came out. So it was definitely interesting to listen to and sort of his mentality where he wanted to be. He's like, I had no friends on the other team. I wanted to like
Oh,
beat
wow.
them, and it's like remind me sort of the Michael Jordan documentary that came out
Right.
a few years
Yeah.
ago.
Yeah. Okay. That's cool.
Now, last non-lacrosse question for you is: what is one item on your bucket list that you hope to do one day?
I would like to have my bachelorette party on a yacht off the Amalfi Coast.
Is that in Italy?
Yes.
Okay, okay.
So I'm dreaming big, but really hope I can do it.
Hey, I feel like you can. You're a
Exactly.
hard worker. You can, I feel like, figure that out. So,
Right?
me is sort of traveling, but I would say probably to like Australia. I think that would be fun. I would love to
Yeah.
see that, but that flight is very long, so who knows if that'll ever happen. So maybe
Right.
something a little more realistic, like the Grand Canyon, where it'll be a little bit
Yeah.
easier to get to.
Yeah, definitely.
Well, getting back to some lacrosse questions now. First one is like, what should be done to help grow women's lacrosse from your perspective?
Well, I think something like what you're doing, I think it's really awesome because men's lacrosse, I feel like, is just so much more popular. So to have a male like you having a women's podcast, I think that is just so incredible. I also think it comes down to the influence from older girls who have played on the younger generations. I think them coming back and coaching because, young girls really look up to players at the collegiate level. So I think that really helps the game itself.
Now, last question I want to ask you before we end this interview is just, do you have any shout outs you want to give to your teammates, family members, and friends? And who should we have on the podcast next?
Yes, shout out to my coaches and Shoe Women's Lax NEC champs. I think you should have anyone on from that team on because you'd have a great time with them.
For sure, for sure. You're definitely the first Sacred Heart player we've had on the podcast,
Yes.
but you won't be the last. I can definitely guarantee that. So,
Awesome.
well, Claire, I just want to say thank you so much for taking time out of your day and coming on. It really means a lot to me. I think you're an
Of course.
incredible player, but you're an even better person. So I just want to let you know that. And
Thank you so much.
I wish you nothing but the best for your future endeavors because I know whatever you decide to do, you're going to be successful in that just because you're a hard worker and a good person. So thank you
Thank
so
you.
much for doing this. It means a lot.
Yeah, of course. I really appreciate you reaching out. It was really great to getting to know you, and I wish you the best too with school and wherever you plan to go. I think you'll do great things.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah.